Hey everyone, welcome to Disturbing Stories, the channel where you find the most disturbing and shocking stories you've ever heard. If you enjoy a good mystery and stories that make your skin crawl, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and share this video with your friends. Today, I'm going to tell you an unbelievable story, one of those that feel like they came straight out of a nightmare. You know when reality is stranger than fiction? Well, get ready, because you won to believe what happened. My name is Helena, and what I'm about to share with you is, unfortunately, my story. For many years, I lived in a marriage that seemed perfect to everyone else. My husband, Roberto, was the kind of man all my friends envied. He was loving, attentive, and always made a point of showing how much he loved me. But as they say, not everything that glitters is gold. It all started to fall apart on what seemed like just another ordinary afternoon. Roberto began spending more and more time away from home, always with excuses about being overloaded at work. At first, I believed him, but deep down, I felt something was wrong. He wasn't the same anymore, and I began to feel a huge distance growing between us. I tried to ignore it, but doubt was eating away at my heart. So one day, I decided to confront him. I asked him point blank if something was wrong, if he was cheating on me. He denied it, of course, but the guilt was written all over his face. That's when I started digging. The messages on his phone, the calls from unknown numbers, it was all there, right in front of me. What I found out destroyed me. Roberto was involved with a woman named Daniela, but she wasn't just any woman. Daniela was a prostitute, someone he had met on one of those nights he claimed to be working late. But the story didn't stop there. Over time, I discovered that Daniela wasn't just a prostitute. She was a witch. That's right, a witch. When Roberto got involved with her, he had no idea what he was getting himself into. I found out she was using black magic to trap him, making him completely lose his mind. He started distancing himself not only from me, but from his friends, family, everyone. It was like he was being sucked into an abyss he couldn't escape from. I tried everything. I sought spiritual help, prayed, did everything I could to try and bring him back. But it seemed like the more I tried, the deeper he sank. Roberto was completely under Daniela's control. He even asked me for a divorce, and at that moment, I felt like the world was crashing down on me. It was like I was losing the person I loved most to a force I couldn't fight. In a moment of desperation, I decided to confront Daniela. I found her and had one of the most intense conversations of my life. She didn't deny anything. On the contrary, she said she had Roberto in her grasp and that I would never be able to take him away from her. But I knew I couldn't give up. I had to do something before it was too late. After Roberto came back home, I thought everything would be fine, that we could finally get our lives back on track. But things weren't that simple. Roberto had changed. He seemed distant, like something was still haunting him. The nightmares were frequent, and he would wake up in the middle of the night, sweating and murmuring things I couldn't understand. It was during one of those nights that I discovered Daniela still had a hold over him. He confessed to me that despite coming back, he still felt an inexplicable attraction to her, as if something was pulling him back into that darkness. I knew I couldn't let my guard down. This battle wasn't over yet. I stayed alert to every sign. Anything that seemed out of the ordinary, I investigated. Roberto started disappearing again, but this time he couldn't lie to me. He said he felt a force calling him, as if he was being drawn against his will. Daniela's influence was stronger than I had imagined. Then one night, he simply disappeared. No messages, no calls, nothing. I was desperate, fearing the worst. I spent the entire night searching for him, but it was as if he had vanished into thin air. The next morning, I got a call from an unknown number. It was Daniela. She was laughing on the phone, saying that Roberto would never truly be mine, that he belonged to her now. That's when I realized this was a fight I couldn't win alone. I needed help, and fast. I sought out the spiritual healer again, but this time he told me the situation was much more serious than before. Daniela wasn't just playing with Roberto. She was trying to take his soul. He told me she was part of an ancient cult that used black magic to trap men's souls and use them in dark rituals. If I wanted to save him, I had to act quickly before it was too late. With the healer's help, I prepared a protection ritual. But I knew that wouldn't be enough. I needed to find Roberto before Daniela completed her plan. I spent days searching for him, without sleep, without eating, until finally a clue led me to a secluded place, an old house by a lake. I entered the house, and what I saw inside haunts me to this day. Roberto was lying on the floor, surrounded by strange symbols drawn in blood. Daniela was there, murmuring words in a language I didn't understand, but I could feel they were words of pure evil. With all the courage I could muster, I interrupted the ritual. I shouted Roberto's name, trying to bring him back to reality, but Daniela didn't give up easily. She turned to me with a look that made my blood run cold. "You won't take him from me," she said. "He's already mine." But I wasn't willing to give up. I recited the prayers and chants the healer had taught me, holding tightly to a cross he had given me. The atmosphere began to change, and I could feel the battle between good and evil right there in that space. Daniela screamed in agony as the light from the cross seemed to burn her. Suddenly, she let out a deafening scream and, like a shadow, disappeared into the darkness. Roberto, now free from the trance, collapsed on the floor. I ran to him and hugged him, feeling like I had finally won. But I knew the scars from that encounter would remain forever. When Roberto woke up, he was confused and weak, but the evil had been expelled from his life. He was free, finally. However, the memories of that nightmare stayed with us for a long time. We sought help to overcome the trauma, and little by little we began to rebuild our lives. But always with one certainty: evil exists, and it can be closer than we think. Today, by sharing this story, I hope it serves as a warning. Sometimes danger doesn't come from where we expect, and we must always be vigilant, especially when our soul is at stake. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more disturbing tales like this, don't forget to subscribe to the Disturbing Stories channel, leave your like, and share this video. Here, the darkest and most real stories always have a place. See you next time.